Hello! Hey guys, Jackie back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about cards from the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan expansion that I am going to miss, and I think that, well, not necessarily that I'm going to miss, but cards that I think should have seen more play, or have been kind of an interesting design, or quite a unique card that it would have been nice to have seen some play that hasn't really seen much action. Starting with Hosen Healer, 4-mana 2/6 Battlecry, restore a minion to full health. I've actually played around with this card quite a lot in priest decks that have a lot of high health minions and the type of Divine Spirit Inner Fire type things. This card was actually really cool in a lot of those type of decks, and you could even use it with like Orkney. And say if you have Orkney on the board and then you play Hosen Healer would actually destroy the enemy minion. So instead of restoring it to full health, it would just put it to 0 health, which is actually pretty insane. But this card hasn't really been able to find its way into the meta much, or to see any competitive play at all, really. But it was quite a unique card, and I have really enjoyed playing it, and it's definitely a bit of a shame that it hasn't been able to see more action. Red Manawa. Now, when this card was initially released, I was thinking, oh my god, this is going to be insane in Rogue with all that cheap spells. Like, maybe you can play this in Druid with, like, Innovate, and Mage has lots of cheap spells as well, for example. But Red Manaworm has really not seen any play at all, which I do think is a bit of a shame. I mean, it's one of those cards where if it gets ignored, it could potentially spiral out of control. Like, even looking at it now, I'm thinking, oh, this card's actually pretty good, but it just hasn't found its way into the meta at all. Especially when Burgly Bully was revealed as well. I was thinking, oh, okay, so you can get more coins from Burgly Bully. So maybe Burgly Bully would be good in a Red Manaworm deck, because it gives you more chance of getting a coin and more chances of buffing your Red Manaworm quickly. But it just hasn't really happened for Red Manaworm. Which is one of the ones I'm most surprised about, actually. I think it's surprising this card hasn't seen more play. Rip Red Manawa. Doppelgangster. Okay, so in an earlier video I was talking about how I'm very happy to see Evolve go. And a part of that was because of the Doppelgangster Evolve combo. But actually Doppelgangster as a card I do really like, mostly because of... not because of the Doppelgangster Evolve synergy, but really for the kind of hand buff mechanics. Like, one thing about the Gadgetzan expansion that seemed pretty interesting to me at the time that has not really seen much play is the hand buff mechanics. So Hunter, Paladin, and Warrior were the grimy goons classes that got all these hand buff cards that I thought Doppelgangster would work really well with. And I mean, it makes sense why it would work. You can, you know, buff your Doppelgangster, and then you would get 2 more copies of the same buffed minion for a big tempo play. But the grimy goons just weren't up to scratch with the power of, like, Jades and all the Cabal cards like Kazakus. So the grimy goons never really got to see much action. Which is a little bit of a shame, because there's quite a few cool ones. I'm going to be talking about a few more of them in a minute as well. One of them being Dispatch Kodo. I really like Dispatch Kodo because Hunter is not very good at coming back from behind. Hunter is very good at kind of playing from ahead and staying ahead. Whereas Dispatch Kodo kind of gives Hunter a way of getting back onto the board if they lose the board. So you can use some kind of things to buff this up in your hand, and then, bam, get this on the board, destroy something, and put a minion on the board yourself, which is pretty cool. I actually was able to OTK someone from like 22 health with like a Bran Dispatch Kodo combo at one point, which was really cool. So there's actually some really fun things you can do with this card, but it just hasn't been... It's similar to really all the other hand buff cards. They just haven't been quite as strong as the other cards that have kind of been dominant in the meta. Knuckles. Knuckles is... I actually did think Knuckles would see some play. Partly because, I mean, it does have good synergy with hand buffs, because you're buffing the body, and when you're trading and you're getting that extra bit of damage to face as well. But the fact that it's a okay started minion, like a 3/7 isn't too bad, But the fact that the 3 attack is going face, I thought that in some kind of aggressive decks, Knuckles would see some kind of play. And it was actually a really, I think a lot of people, when Knuckles came out, everyone was like, oh, this card's really cool. It would be nice to see this, see a bit of competitive play. But I think Hunter just, as the Hunter hasn't been up to scratch, or mid-rangey Hunter decks anyway, or the type of Hunter deck that Knuckles would fit into, haven't been up to scratch for quite a while now, really. Hopefully we can see some more Hunter with all the new Witchwood cards, because I'm a big fan of Hunter. But Knuckles is not quite cut, unfortunately. Smuggler's Crate goes along with those other two. I especially like the Smuggler's Crate synergy with Rat Pack and Dispatch Kodo. Especially Dispatch Kodo. Like, getting Smuggler's Crate on Dispatch Kodo is really nice. And I've actually had some decent use out of Smuggler's Crate, because Hunter hasn't had the best 1-drops for a while, partly because Patches has been so dominant, and so things like Fairy Bat just gets destroyed by Patches. And so Smuggler's Crate has actually been sometimes a nice turn 1 play for Hunter, so you don't have to play your weak 1-drop. Instead, you can play this and then have a stronger turn in the future. So I did actually really like this card, and I think this card was a little bit underplayed, because I think it was actually pretty nice. But yeah, hand buffs just weren't quite good enough. Smuggler's Run. Now, Smuggler's Run has seen a little bit of play. I actually think hand buff Paladin is the best of the 3 hand buff decks. Like, if you're going like hand buff Warrior, hand buff Paladin, hand buff Hunter. Paladin's definitely been the one that's seen the most play and has had some success, and it's been a decent deck at times. Smuggler's Run has been seen a little bit of play, and it's just a really cool card that kind of rewards you for having all these cheap cards in your hand. It's been really nice using this on things like Serenade Chain Gang and Doppelgangster. And also in Paladin, you recently play lots of minions that create other minions. So you can play something like Firefly or Stonehill Defender, that even though you're playing them on tempo, you're adding another minion to your hand that can then get buffed by Smuggler's Run. So Smuggler's Run I've had a lot of fun with, and I hope you guys have had too. Mean Street Marshal. This is one I'm actually surprised hasn't seen much play, and especially when the Paladin Quest came out, I was thinking, oh, okay, so Paladin Quest looks not that great, but maybe if you like use the Paladin Quest on turn 1, and then you can do like Mean Street Marshal with a buff on turn 2, or do like Mean Street Marshal on turn 1 and then Quest plus a buff on turn 2 if you think the Mean Street Marshal is going to survive, and then you can kind of gain back the loss of tempo from the quest by getting the draw value out of Mean Street Marshal. But it just hasn't really happened for it, and it's not been seen, really. Next card is Shadow Sensei. Shadow Sensei, when they first brought this card out, I was thinking, oh, okay, they're going to print lots more stealth cards, and, they're going to make Stealth Rogue a thing. But that hasn't really happened. This card was kind of like a one-off. I have seen it around a bit. It's definitely got some good use. There was a phase where people were playing the 3 mana 2/2 Divine Shield stealth guy, and then they would use Shadow Sensei on it and buff it to a 4/4 Divine Shield, and then they would get a really good tempo. Also Shaku, this has been played on a little bit. Finja. So I have seen this card around a little bit, and whenever I've seen it, it's kind of caught me off guard, and because it is a very strong card if you're getting the effect off. The only issue really is that there aren't enough stealth minions in the game that you really want to use this on to get the best value out of it. Yeah, thought Stealth Rogue was going to be a thing, but never mind. Next card, Finders Keepers. Overload Shaman has never really been a thing. All the kind of Shaman decks that have been good have had kind of like the odd Overload card in, or a few Overload cards, but there hasn't really been a full Overload Shaman deck for a while. But I don't think Finders Keepers has been a bad card, even like on its own, because of the like versatility of Overload cards, and there's a lot of strong Overload cards as well, but they just do so many things. You've got cards that heal you, big minions with Taunt, you've got big removal spells like Lightning Storm, Volcano, etc. So I did actually think this card would see a bit more play when it was released, and I think I'm always disappointed when Discover cards don't see play, because I think Discover is a really cool mechanic, and the fact that you're having to make this decision in the mid game that you have no idea what you're going to get the option of, but you have to pick the choice based on your situation, which is going to help you the most. I think if there were more Overload synergy cards, like we have Unbound Elemental, if there were more things like Tunnel Trogs and more of these cards that are benefited by using Overload, I think Finders Keepers could have seen more play. Cobalt Trafficker. This card, I mean, the thing about this card is that it can create so much value. It's a 6 mana 6/6, which is not a terrible stat line. But I think the reason it hasn't seen that much play is that it's demons are very hit and miss. Like there's quite a lot of demons that actually have quite negative effects. Things like Lakari Fellhound, which discards 2 cards. Things like Pick Lord, which does 5 damage to your face. And situationally, they're good. Like there's some situations where Lakari Fellhound is going to be amazing because you don't care about discarding cards. You just want a 3/8 taunt against aggro. And Pit Lord, if you're against a control deck and you don't care about your health, then taking 5 damage is not a problem. But the demons are just kind of so inconsistent that I feel like even though Cobalt Trafficker can create a lot of value, some of the time you're just getting useless demons or demons that you don't even want to play. And so it's not always generating useful cards, which I think is the main reason that this card hasn't seen that much play. Fae Potion. I mean, Fae Potion's... It's seen a bit of play in kind of like Rena-Lock style decks for a while, and I just like the kind of high risk, high reward type. Not really high risk, high reward, but just kind of like you're getting a big AoE, like you're getting a good AoE, but you're having to take 5 damage to your own face to do that. And in Warlock, taking 5 damage to your own face is a big risk, obviously, because of their lack of healing. So I would have liked to see Fae Potion see a bit more play because of it makes Warlocks kind of think, ooh, can I afford to take this 5 damage? Like, there's some situations where you absolutely have to just clear the board. You're very happy to take the 5 damage, but then there's some situations where it's very risky, and I like the idea of Warlock being kind of a risky class where you have to kind of risk going on low health for like good benefits, or risk discarding things for big benefits. Like I like to think of Warlock as quite a risky class. I mean, right now Warlock doesn't feel very risky at all, but Fae Potion is one of those cards that up the amount of risk. Grimy Gadgeteer. Okay, Grimy Gadgeteer we're back on the hand buff things. I think Grimy Gadgeteer was actually probably my favorite hand buff card that they revealed, just because of the kind of the infinite potential. Like, you're definitely getting +2/+2 on something at the end of your turn, and it's also something your opponent feels like they have to kill, because if they don't kill it, you can get +2/+2 on something else at the end of your next turn. And so it essentially has taunt as well as the effect it already has. And so you're instantly getting really 6/5 for 4 mana, because you're getting the 4/3 on board, and then you're getting the 2/2 in your hand. So it's already 6/5 stats for 4 mana, which is great, with the potential for even more. So yeah, Grimy Gadgeteer, rip. Rip, rip, rip. Grime Street Informant. I didn't really expect this card to see that much play, to be honest, because a 2 mana 1/1 is not a very good stat line, obviously. But the fact that you could get, like, what made me excited about this card was you can get cards from Paladin and Warrior in Hunter, for example, and Hunter really struggles with like removal and comeback mechanics and healing, and Paladin and Warrior have a ton of both of those. So I was initially thinking that this would be pretty cool in kind of like a control-y Hunter deck, and you can use this to get like Consecrations or Brawls or like Lay on Hands and all these like defensive cards that you wouldn't normally have access to in Hunter. But it never really came to be a thing. I mean, Hunter hasn't really had the tools to have a control deck. I've messed around with this card a little bit, and it's been fun, but it just hasn't really been the deck for it. And that is the last card for this video, guys. A lot of these cards will be missed, and I will definitely revisit some of them in Wild and give them a go again. But right now, I just can't wait for the new expansion. Can't wait for the new cards. And overall, I'm very happy to see 3 expansions rotating out, because it's always nice to just have a complete change of scenery, complete change of pace, and just a complete change of meta. Like, there's obviously some decks that are around now that will probably be similar in the new expansion, but hopefully we've got a lot of new decks coming our way, and I just can't wait to experiment now. So yeah, catch you later, guys, and see you in Witchwood.